Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of The Birds, the 1963 Alfred Hitchcock classic. Also to note, this is from my university library, this DVD, from Anglia Ruskin at Cambridge library. I'll be returning it hopefully tomorrow. Plenty of time though. So, The Birds. Now, haven't seen many Hitchcocks. Don't shoot. I'll see some more in the future, probably. But the ones I definitely have seen are Rear Window and Psycho. And this. Don't think I've seen any others yet, but I'll try to do. Try and watch others in later. Well, when I can, but with this one, I decided to check it out, and I thought it was going to be really good. It's just good. It's not. I wouldn't consider it one of Hitchcock's best, at least not in a story-wise. In a direction-wise, it looks really great. But as well, besides some of the bird effects being a little dated by today's standards, but for the time, they probably looked good, and the noises are the same, but not as much. But story-wise, it's not that great. So the plot of the film is that a young woman called Melanie gets some lovebirds for a man she met at a pet shop for his sister's birthday, because he wanted to get them for his sister's birthday. So she gets them and tries to sneak them into his house without him knowing. Of course, he notices her on the way back when she gets to his house in a small town, but on the way back, she's attacked by a seagull, and so she has to be looked after. And they kind of talk and bond, I suppose, and also have an argument or two, but I suppose it's supposed to be developing a relationship, but at the same time, it's not quite as well done. I have to comment on this. This is the first 15 minutes of the film is basically, well, besides the title sequence, which isn't very inspiring. Psycho had a much better title sequence. But most of the first half of the film is basically just Mel going around looking around the town, trying to find Michael, the main male protagonist, trying to find his house, sneak the birds in, and then when they meet up again, they try to develop this relationship, but I don't think it quite works. There isn't as much of a romantic feel between them. I think they like each other, definitely, and I think there's some sort of mini romance, but they don't really develop on it as much as you would expect in having half the movie before the actual birds attack. It's around the 15-minute mark during the sister's birthday party that stuff starts happening. And besides the first attack and also a bird hitting the school teacher's house front door just a few minutes before the party, he's seen before basically. But once we get to the party scene is when shit happens, basically. When stuff actually happens, we see the birds attacking for the first time, and then throughout the rest of the hour, the remaining hour and 4 minutes of the film, we then see the birds attacking most of the people in the town. There's quite a few instant moments. There's one scene where Michael's mother goes to a friend's house and she finds him dead with his eyes pecked out. It's a good thing that Michael told them to cover their faces when they were attacked just a few minutes before. Another thing is that there's a bunch of crows when Mel goes to see if the sister, Kathy, is okay. When she goes to see this school teacher and Kathy, there are lots of crows, and this is a good scene here. Crows are sneaking up and gathering behind her back, and only after a few minutes does she actually notice that there's a huge number of them. There's like hundreds of them are sitting on the apparatus, and so she has to rush in and help get the children out. And yeah, they get quite brutal attacks, really, on the kids. And the school teacher sadly dies off screen as well. She was a nice character, but she sadly got, well, I guess, pecked to death off screen, saving Kathy. And then there's a great scene where the birds cause commotion in the town, attacking people, that leads to kind of a guy who's been attacked dropping a gas or petrol. I don't know what the word is. It's what you use to fill the car up, but a pump. He drops a pump, and the petrol just fills the streets, and there's this guy lighting a cigar, because it's the 60s, people smoked a lot, and yeah, accidentally drops it, and it pretty much consumes him, the car, and a lot of other places on fire. So that was great. And also it gets the panic down. I think the panic is well gotten of the citizens in the town, in the cafe specifically. And that scene with Mel in the phone box, that is really good. But despite some obvious background imagery and some of the bird effects, but besides that, it's still really good. And the final half hour of the film, final 20 minutes, is basically the four main characters, which are Melanie, Michael, Kathy, and Michael and Kathy's mother. They're just hiding out in their house, trying to lay low till the bird attacks stop, and they're preparing for another attack. And then the birds attack, and it's pretty scary in some bits. It could, especially for younger viewers, if they watched it. And also, Melanie gets attacked upstairs. So shortly after that, they have to evacuate the house, and they hear on Michael hears on Melanie's car radio that the town is being evacuated. So that does lead to one problem at the end of the film. Once they do escape, it's pretty the tension is high, and they are trying to escape, and they do manage to escape without an attack on them. However, the film just ends on the car going away. It just ends. Like, final shot, a universal release. End. So we don't actually find out what happened next. We don't get to see if Melanie actually pulls through, if she and Michael get a future with each other, how the mother feels about that, if they're making a new life in San Francisco. Is the town going to be free to return to? How long are the attacks going to go on for? We actually don't know why the birds are attacking. That's something else that could have been explained, but it's also fun to learn, not to worry about. It's fun to just wonder what it is. However, I'm also wondering if it ever stopped in the story, in the universe the story's taking place. I'm wondering if the attacks ever did stop and people returned to the town. There was even a bit earlier in the film where one woman accused Melanie of being the one that's starting it. Kind of, as soon as she arrived, this started. So that's something else that could have been explained. And there's been bird attacks elsewhere, so who else has been affected, basically. We only hear the radio mention it. And yeah, when was it stop? When was it going to stop? Really, the only thing I'm not terribly worried about knowing is why. It's not a big problem that we don't know, but what I do find annoying is what happened next? What happened afterwards? Do we get any answers after they escaped? Do we find out what happened next? Did it all stop? Did they get to go back, or was it closed? Was it a town that was closed off? We will never know, because that ending just ended. It just ended, basically. The story, I guess the story ended, because I don't think, because if there was more to the story, I think they would have made a bit more. What were the deleted scenes? I didn't watch the deleted scenes. Not sure. Oh, there was alternative endings, so I'll have to check them out, I suppose. So, that's really, yeah, that just didn't feel very good. The ending it just ended. It wasn't a very satisfying ending. I'm glad they all got out okay. That was the best bit about this not very good ending, that they got out okay and avoided another attack. But then it just ended, and we don't know what happened next, and we don't get to see any resolution. They just escaped. Which is probably the best thing about it, is that they all got out alive. And that's it. That's the best thing about the ending. So yeah, I've got a problem with the ending, and I've got slight kind of issue with the first half of the film just not being terribly interesting. There's most of the first half hour is just Melanie driving up to the town and just looking around the town trying to find places, which is good for world building and character developing. However, the development isn't terribly developed later on. I think if the plan was to develop the characters and then therefore develop the romantic relationship, then I think they kind of got a bit lost halfway, and they kind of just developed the world built the world a little bit, and developed bits of the character, had a bit of a play around, but then they kind of lost it and just had them talk for a bit. And then they eventually got the birds attacking them. So it does take its time. It is worth it to sit through bits that I know some people will be okay with the first 50 minutes just not being very not being very eventful, but for those who wouldn't find it very interesting, I say stick through it. It is worth it once the birds start attacking, 50 minutes in, give or take. Really, yeah, it's really just those 50 minutes and the ending I've got slight issues in, but the main chunk of the film is brilliant. It's really it's classic Hitchcock. But as overall, I don't think it's as much of a classic as, say, Psycho or Rear Window. So, The Birds, I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10. It's a great film and great in film master workmanship, and Hitchcock does a really great job and delivers another great classic. But it's not one of the best classics. At least not, well, I've only seen 3 at the moment, but I'll see more, hopefully. But out of the 3, this is the weakest of the 3 I've seen, and it probably still be one of the weaker ones, depending on which ones I go off and see next. But definitely, some people may not find the first half that interesting. I thought it was uneventful but necessary. But I think they could have developed the romantic relationship and maybe also Michael's character slightly a bit more before we got to the attacks. At least it would have helped run out the time. And the ending, I wanted to know what happened next. I guess some people might find the ending satisfying, but it just felt like it ended too soon. Basically, especially after all that time at the start. Not even building up, just getting there. It didn't even build up to the attacks. There was just one small attack, and that was it. It wasn't really that much. So, The Birds is not amazing, but it is still really good. It's still a really great classic film. So, that's it from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. So the plot despite some obvious background imagery and but wouldn't be worried to know as sorry